The ballroom pretended to be humble and failed in gold. A champagne wall taller than our family tree. A slideshow looping his face like it had a crush. Airport selfies. Laptop on a beach. Whiteboard arrows pointing to nowhere. Centerpieces that looked like trophies in witness protection. He entered like the main character of a movie no one asked for. Watch throwing sparkles. Smile set to maximum. He hugged me with his chin, which is a very specific kind of hug. "You made it," he said. "Legacy night," I said. He heard support. I meant timestamp. Mom squeezed my hand until my knuckles confessed. "Be kind," she whispered. "Always," I said. Dad nodded at bread like it owed him money. Aunt Carol hovered with her violin, ready to play the national anthem of denial. I scanned the room with my petty binoculars. Investors in navy with synchronized hair. Partners trying to look calm, failing gently. Staff clustered by the bar like penguins who unionized. The mentor floated, tan, unburdened by facts. Ben stood by dessert reading the cake like a ledger. My lawyer sat near the aisle with her bag open and her patience zipped halfway. He toured the tables like a politician at a lemonade stand. "We optimize liabilities," he told a cluster. They clapped at the syllables. A woman with a neat bob asked, "What does that mean?" He winked. "Strategy. Translation. Soup." He found me again because attention has a homing beacon. "Say a few words?" he asked. "You've got the funny." "I have words," I said. "Retiring at 38, I said to a blazer with a bank account. The word self-made tripped and fell on the carpet. The band threw in tasteful jazz that sounded like invoices. He took a mini mic and said, "I couldn't do it without you." Classic. He could. He did. Then he gestured to me. "My sibling has stories." "Oh, I do." I stood, friendly, not feral, and walked like a person whose shoes know secrets. I took the mic. It felt like a polite sword. "Hi, I'm the sibling with fewer followers and more receipts." Laughter. "Easy." Mom asked me to be nice. "I will try." Mom clasped her hands like prayer had a budget. "Growing up, he charged me $1 to use my own skateboard," I said. "Entrepreneurship at home." Laughter. He pointed at himself. Lovable villain. "We ran a lemonade stand with surge pricing. He called it peak thirst strategy." Bigger laugh. He was glowing. "Glow while you can." "We're different," I went on. "He speaks headline. I do footnotes." Staff nodded from the bar like choir. "He jumps. I check if the parachute is spelled correctly." A ripple. Ben looked at his shoes to hide a smile. "He taught me risk tolerance," I said, tasting the words. "How to jump first and ask questions later. Sometimes the cliff is a metaphor. Sometimes it's a yacht name." A hum moved across the room. The investors thought it was charming. He flinched 1 millimeter. "File that." I pointed gently at the childhood photo behind me. "We dug a moat by accident once." Laughs. "We sold tickets." More laughs. "Dad called it unapproved infrastructure." Dad's mouth twitched. I gave him that one. 3 quick truths, I said, raising fingers. 1. Good stories have receipts. Beat. 2. Risk without math is vibes. Beat. 3. Boats need silly names and legitimate payments. It landed like a paper airplane with a brick inside. Some people grinned. Some squinted. He swallowed. He tried to steer. "Work hard, play hard," he said. "Yes," I said, "and pay hard." The room chuckled. He smirked like it was his. It was not. "I love a clean spreadsheet," I said. "I love a clean conscience more." That line slid quiet and sharp. The mentor's tan frowned. A partner's fork paused midair. A server near Tara blinked like she felt weather. He couldn't resist. "I always do my homework," he told the room, patting his chest. "I know," I said. "I graded it." Laughter with a nervous aftertaste. He touched his watch like it could fix time. I softened. "To the people who kept the ship steady when the waves got weird," I said, nodding at staff. They straightened like someone finally saw them. "To honest work, paying honest bills." I let each word stand on its own feet. He raised his glass. "To building empires." "To building," I said, "and checking permits." A few investors laughed like that was a TED Talk from their conscience. "Here's what I wish," I said, aiming warm. "Rest that's earned, joy that doesn't need receipts, and money that never sneaks out at 2 a.m. The ops manager lowered her champagne like it had ears. He blinked. Twice. I lifted my glass. "To Chad," I said, "may the risks be worth the math. May the stories be true enough to need know." Edits. "May the boats be silly and the payments boring." Clinks. Applause. The room exhaled. He stepped in for the hug he imagined. I gave him air and a smile. Friendly. Not feral. As the MC announced dessert, I drifted toward the bar through a forest of sequins and denial. Tara was polishing a glass already clean. I set my smile down and my voice on low. Bourbon, 2 cubes, and existential dread. She nodded once, sent the text without looking, and poured like a metronome. Behind me, the cake rolled out with sparklers. The slideshow hid his yacht photo, and my watch found 9:13 like a joke with good timing. I took the glass, did not drink, and let the room enjoy sugar for 3 more seconds. Then the side door opened and the math walked in wearing suits. The toast, knife wrapped in velvet. I tapped the mic once. The room tucked itself in. I kept my face kind, my words softer than they felt. So, childhood. He once charged me $1 to borrow my own skateboard. He called it usage rights. I called it theft with receipts. We split the profits on lemonade 90/10. He kept 90. My cut was exposure. He tried to sell rocks from our yard as limited edition backyard geodes. He walks in like a trailer. I bring the subtitles. He jumps first, names the cliff Opportunity, and asks gravity to collaborate. We dug a moat by accident, flooded the yard, sold tickets. Dad called it unapproved infrastructure. We called it pre-revenue. The neighbors called a plumber. Growth mindset. He once told me, always act like you belong. He said it while wearing my jacket. I said, return the jacket. He said, we're family. Translation, finders keepers, siblings weepers. He loves risk. He calls it tolerance. He calls it vision. He calls it Tuesday. I love math. I call it Tuesday too. Mine has fewer yachts. 3 truths I learned from him. 1. Confidence rents rooms. 2. Silence buys time. 3. Boats should be named something silly, then paid for like a utility bill. No drama. Just auto pay and sunscreen. He taught me to pitch. I taught him to label. He taught me charm. I taught him spell check. He taught me, don't apologize for success. I taught him, do apologize to Phoenix. He says winners never quit. I say winners reconcile. Quiet wins are my kink. So is a $0 variance. We all have hobbies. He took me to a seminar once. The speaker said, if you can't dazzle them with data, dazzle them with daylight. I said, or bring both. Chad wrote down daylight. I circled data like a love letter. We ran a lemonade stand with surge pricing. He called it peak thirst strategy. Grandma called it rude. He smiled and gave her a free cup. She paid him anyway. He's always had gravity. Earlier today, he told me, keep it sweet. I said, I can do sweet, so here's sweet. He is relentless. He is glass half full with a refill plan. He believes a door is a suggestion. He taught me stubborn can be a compliment if you point it at the right task. And here's sugar with fiber. Dates matter. Because when you say you learned a lesson in May and the bill lands in June, we all understand the plot. That's not shade. That's a calendar with boundaries. To the team that kept the ship steady when the waves got weird, thank you. To the people who hit send and then checked the ledger twice, I see you. To the ones who love boring, you're my people. Boring pays benefits. Boring sleeps. To the investors who love vision, I love vision with glasses on. It sees better. It doesn't walk into boats named like punchlines. He loves a consultant. He has met so many consultants. Some live in offices, some live in P.O. boxes, some live in storage units with dreams. I respect ambition. I respect addresses more. He told me once, we're optimizing liabilities across vehicles. I said, in English? He said, we're winning. I said, spell Phoenix. We laughed. Eventually, he cannot resist a mic. Watch. He will interrupt me right now to say, work hard, play hard. It's his favorite loop. There it is. Yes, work hard, play hard, and pay hard. The trifecta. He says he does his homework. He does. I grade it. Comments in the margins. Gentle notes. Red pen where necessary. Stickers for effort. Stars for accuracy. Detentions for boats. I'm not here to roast. I'm here to toast. And to translate. Risk without math is vibes. Vibes are great for playlists. Bad for payroll. We mix both. We dance and we balance. Here's my wish list. Rest that is actually restful. Joy that doesn't need receipts. And money that never sneaks out at 2 a.m. If you know, you know. If you don't, good. To mom, who loves loudly. To dad, who fixes quietly. To Aunt Carol, who brought a violin to a cake. To the staff, who kept the lights on while the slideshow glowed. To the investors, may your due diligence be nosy and your pins uncap. Easily. To you, Chad, may your cliff jumps come with helmets. May your stories need no edits. May your boats have silly names and boring payments. May your legacy be math you don't have to justify. To honest work, paying honest bills. To permits checked. To Phoenix spelled like Phoenix. To Tuesdays without emergencies. To bedtime without alarms. To champagne that tastes like we earned it. I raise my glass. Friendly, not feral. Warm, not weak. Here's to him. Here's to us. Here's to boring, the friend who drives you home. Clink your glasses. Laugh now. Take your photos. Enjoy the sparkler moment. Dessert is coming. And I promise, dessert is where the plot gets interesting. The signal. Dessert with handcuffs. I left the mic like it might bite, slid through sequins, and parked at the bar. Tara wiped the counter once. Already clean. Already ready. I kept my voice low and steady. Bourbon, 2 cubes, and existential dread. She nodded like a metronome heard it too. Her hand dipped. The quiet buzz of a text flew out into the night, and a short glass landed in front of me like a period. Behind me, the cake rolled out with sparklers doing tiny fireworks. The slideshow helpfully chose the yacht photo. Liquid assets posed like it paid its own bills. People did the polite, ooh sound money gets on weekends. I didn't drink. I set the glass down, checked the room clock, and found 9:13 staring at me like a punchline with manners. The side door opened the way authority opens things. Calm, unhurried, inevitable. 2 detectives in suits that don't chase tips, followed by 2 uniforms whose shoes knew how to hush carpets. They didn't wave. They didn't posture. They headed straight for the center table like they'd been here before in a different life. First sound, forks stopping midair. Second, a gasp that tried to hide in a napkin. Third, my mother whispering, "It's a prank. Please be a prank," to the ceiling. Dad stared at his water like it might file an appeal. Aunt Carol's bow hovered, then froze, mid-air punctuation. The lead detective said, "Chadwick Reynolds?" The full name took his smile by the collar. He did a soft laugh. "Misunderstanding," he said, palms out, watch screaming for relevance. "It's a counting noise. We were reallocating." He said reallocating like a scented candle. The detective didn't buy candles. "You're under arrest for wire fraud and embezzlement," he said, voice like a ruler. "Counts, dates, amounts." The room learned numbers faster than it had all night. Phones rose like sunflowers, bright and shameless. Somewhere a server whispered, "Oh wow," to a slice of cake. Mom stood so fast her chair tried to follow. "This is a prank," she told the detective's tie. He said, "No ma'am," with the gentleness of a person who has seen worse on Tuesdays. Dad's jaw moved once. He didn't look up. He held his napkin like it could keep him from saying something true. An investor in Navy turned the color of a stop sign. "You used our funds for a boat?" he asked, as if boat were a medical condition. "Lease," Chad said too quickly. "Marketing tool." "For who?" the investor shot back. "Neptune?" The room didn't laugh. Tara did not stop polishing the same glass. It was therapy now. He reached for charm, found cuffs instead. "Hands behind your back, please." The metal clicked like a tiny door closing. The watch stopped performing. A shard of silence cut the room. The band tried to play through it, then surrendered mid-sax like adults. He pivoted to me because it's a habit. "You did this," he said, low and sharp, like a child blaming gravity. I kept my voice kind. "I brought math to dessert." He blinked like he'd met a word he couldn't sell. The mentor floated backward, tan losing altitude. Staff by the bar looked at the operations manager, who looked at her shoes, which looked at the truth. She mouthed, 2 a.m., and I nodded once. We had both been awake too many nights. The lead detective glanced at my lawyer. "Do you have the materials?" She lifted her bag just enough to show tabs. "Organized," she said. He did the smallest nod, professional to professional. Ben took one bite of cake for morale, then put the fork down like a gentleman at a courtroom. Mom reached for Chad's sleeve. "Tell them," she begged. "Tell them you didn't." He tried the old smile. It slid off. "It always needed better glue than this." "I'll explain everything," he told her. Later, he added to the detective. The detective said, "Good," to your attorney. An investor hissed, "We'll be in touch," in a tone that meant letters with letterhead. Aunt Carol whispered to me, "Should I play something?" I said, "Not major." She nodded like she had a plan for minor. They turned him toward the door. He looked at me once more, anger behind glass. "You'll regret this," he mouthed. "I'll sleep," I mouthed back. The door closed with a soft click that sounded like a verdict saying, "Shish." The cake leaned a little, confused by timing. The slideshow cut to childhood grass stains, which felt like a prank on us all. Phones. Lowered, shame arriving late, but dressed nicely. Someone's calendar chimed. Legacy toast. The room pretended not to hear. The MC cleared his throat and swallowed his career. The band played 3 polite notes, then let them die with dignity. Tara finally set down the glass she'd been washing into transparency. My father stood, slow as a measure. "Let's step out," he said to no one and exactly who needed it. We moved to a smaller room. The ballroom kept breathing without us. In the doorway, I looked back once at the cake and thought, dessert delivered. Then I followed my family into the quiet where the real work starts.